Hi, welcome to EPG Pathashala. I am Dr. Radhika Mamti from IIIT Hyderabad. In today's lecture, we'll be discussing discourse connectives as part of computational linguistics program. Discourse connectives are explicitly or implicitly stated and exist between two argument structures. The argument structures could be sentences or clauses. They have a special function to play, special role to play in linguistics, in understanding language. So in this lecture, we will be looking at discourse connectives from English perspective, as well as we will see whether the same methodology can be used for other Indian languages as well. For example, we will be looking at some of the discourse connectives and see whether they are done the same way in other Indian languages also. So in this lecture we'll be seeing that when we are talking at discourse level, there are relationships that exist between sentences, and these relations can be anaphoric, or there can be discourse connectives that tell about these relations. So in all, we are looking beyond the sentence, and then the challenge in discourse connective is identifying the argument structure first, and then also if the discourse connectives are implicit in nature, trying to see what kind of word exists there, okay, explicitly if stated. These are the challenges that we will be discussing in the course of this lecture. The objectives of this course are to comprehend what are discourse connectives, how they can manifest differently in different languages, their relevance to understand the nature of text, and issues in understanding the exact role of discourse connectives. So, what is discourse? In natural language analysis, discourse is a conceptual generalization of conversation within each modality and context of communication. The communication itself can be written or spoken. More generally, any entity which exhibits a conversation between sequence of signs constitutes a discourse. Specifically, let us take an example of a written text. A text is not merely a set of sentences placed one after another in sequence, that the content of the text can be fully understood just by parsing individual sentences. So a discourse is going beyond the sentence level. Take for example the following sentence. The Baroque was a style of art that existed from the late 1500s to the middle of 8th century. In 16th century, the ruler replaced the old Gothic art with a newer Baroque style. Now in this example, there are two sentences which apparently talk about similar topics such as some art style, period of certain art form, but still we do not understand the text thoroughly and it looks incomplete or odd because there is no context to make sense of who are referred to by their ruler. In other words, the anaphoric reference of there is not in meaningful conversation with any given portion of the text, and therefore it does not render a coherent reading to the reader of the text. Thus, anaphora is one form of discourse interaction that takes place between sentences, propositions in a text. There are other kinds of meaningful relations possible between various propositions of a text, and these can be explicit or implicit. If these discourse relations are signaled explicitly by certain linguistic cues, such cues are called discourse connectives. So look at this example. The class was boring, so I slept. Here, so is the discourse connective, which indicates that the second statement holds a relation of result with the first statement. That is, the second part is the result of first sentence. Other examples of discourse connectives are but, though, moreover, therefore, etc., which create a coherent reading of a given text. Not surprisingly, the discourse connectives have been analyzed with the coherence theory framework as linking units in discourse. Within the relevance theoretic framework, these connectives are considered as linking a unit of discourse and a context, which may be consisting of a prior discourse or not. In other words, discourse connectives play a very important role in bonding two sentences together. So what are discourse connectives? As we have discussed, the discourse relations between the sentences in a text may be expressly spelled out using explicit discourse connectives or implicitly inferred from the discourse context. These discourse connectives are lexical items that can be of various syntactic categories and are used to express functional relations between parts of discourse. These items can be used at the sentential level or at the level of larger discourse units. If discourse relations can be inferred implicitly by the reader from the context, then what specific role do these connectives play? We can say that from the reader's point of view, they help to disambiguate discourses whose interpretations would be vaguer without them. For example, look at these sentences. Ram is not stupid. He can find his way home. Now there are at least two interpretations for the discourse relation that is possible between these two sentences. One can imagine that the statement 4 is a result of the cause specified by statement 3, that is, Ram is not stupid. Therefore, he can find his way home is one interpretation. Another interpretation that is possible is a relation of evidence that is intended to substantiate the claim that Ram is not stupid. So, a lexicon of discourse connectives associated with the relations they express can be very useful for researchers in NLP, and a few languages such as English have been studied with the aim of collecting them exhaustively. Syntactically, discourse markers do not form a separate syntactic category. In English, there are three sources of discourse connectives: conjunctions, adverbs, and prepositional phrases. It must, however, be noted that a given lexical expression need not always function as a discourse connective. For instance, coordinate conjunctions such as and, but, etc. usually function as discourse markers, but not always. For example, in the sentence, jogging and swimming are good exercises, here and is not a discourse connective. Similarly, subordinate conjunctions such as since, because, etc., which can function as discourse connectives, need not exclusively be used as discourse connectives. Since there were no other movies released at the same time, this movie performed well in box office. Here, since is a discourse connective. But in the next sentence, since is not a discourse connective. Example, since Christmas we have had snow every day. So, how do we discriminate in a principled way as to what should be or should not be understood as a discourse connective? Whether we call them discourse connectives or discourse markers, there is one property that these expressions share. They impose a relationship between some aspect of the discourse segment they are a part of, call it S2, and some aspect of a prior discourse segment, call it S1. In other words, they function like a two-place relation. One argument lying in the segment they introduce, the other lying in the prior discourse. Given this characterization of discourse connectives, many segment initial expressions are not considered as discourse connectives. Now, look at the following examples. Shyam wants to watch a boring movie. Frankly, I do not think he should. I want to drink tonight. Obviously, I am old enough. Ravi promised to come home tonight for dinner. Subsequently, I made the necessary arrangements. In these sentences, the expressions frankly, obviously, do not signal a two-place relationship between the two adjacent segments, but rather signal a comment, a separate message that relates to the following segment. On similar grounds, interjections such as oh, ah, wow, and expressions such as well, sir, are not considered as discourse connectives. However, the highlighted segment in example 7, that is subsequently, shows linking between two discourse segments exhibiting a continuation of events between the two discourse segments A and B. So how does one go about understanding discourse markers computationally? Here we will talk about a resource called Penn Discourse Tree Bank, which to date is the largest annotation effort at the discourse level. This was created by University of Pennsylvania, annotation scheme for discourse analysis, and they have developed a large corpus. Discourse analysis in PDTB or Penn Discourse Tree Bank style consists of treating the discourse connectives as discourse level predicates that take two abstract objects such as events, states, and propositions as their arguments. In addition to the argument structure, what sense is conveyed by the connective, what is the span of text up to which the discourse connection is attributed are also annotated. Hence, in PDTB, discourse connectives are identified, classified according to the senses conveyed by them. Two abstract objects are identified as the arguments of a connective, and the span of those arguments are also determined. Discourse connectives in the PDTB include explicit discourse connectives, which are drawn primarily from well-defined syntactic classes, and implicit discourse connectives, which are inserted between paragraph internal adjacent sentences, not related explicitly by any of the syntactically defined set of explicit connectives. In the latter case, the reader must attempt to infer a discourse relation between the adjacent sentences, and annotation consists of inserting a connective expression that best conveys the inferred relation. Coming to adjacent sentence pairs, between which annotators found no implicit connective to be appropriate. In the scheme it is included to distinguish them as artlex, entrel, no-rel. Artlex, where a discourse relation is inferred, but insertion of an implicit connective leads to redundancy. Entrel, where no discourse relation can be inferred, and where the second sentence only serves to provide some further description of the entity in the first sentence. No-rel is when a discourse relation is neither entity-based coherence between the adjacent sentences. Because there are no generally agreed semantic categories along which the arguments of the discourse connectives can be categorized, the two arguments to a discourse connective are simply labeled as arg2 for the argument that appears in the clause that is syntactically bound to the connective, and arg1 for the other argument. So look at these examples. The bank refused to fund Michael because his records are incomplete. So in sentence A, the underlined connective because is explicitly mentioned in the text that establishes the relation between the two abstract objects, highlighted in italics and bold respectively. Look at the next sentence. The agency sued Michael in federal court. In this sentence, the text itself does not contain any discourse connective connecting the two statements. Since the implicit discourse relation that is intended here is contrast, PDTB annotation introduces the implicit connective, however, that best represents the contrast relation. The connectives are underlined with their argument 1 and are highlighted in italics and R2 is highlighted in bold. In this way, the explicit and implicit connectives are annotated in PDTB framework. Similarly, alt-leg, central and no-rel are also annotated. In addition to these annotations, senses have been annotated in the form of sense tags for explicit and implicit connectives and alt-legs relations. The important point to understand here is that PDTB style discourse analysis is lexically grounded on the discourse connectives, and every connective always takes two abstract arguments, and hence the discourse parcel that is intended to be developed through these annotations does not form any full hierarchical discourse representation of the whole text, but only discourse argument structures of portions of text which may or may not be overlapping. Now, if we look at the examples, they are all from English, and all the discourse connectives are lexical in nature. Now, if we go to other languages, that's where the real problem comes. Discourse connective identification and annotation of discourse relation tree bank has been attempted in Hindi amongst the Indian languages. Hindi discourse relation tree bank has been developed along the lines of PDTB framework in analyzing the explicit, implicit, alt-legs, entrel and no-rel connectives analogous to English tree bank annotation. In PDTB annotation of English, the syntactic categories of the expressions that function as discourse connectives belong to three major grammatical classes: subordinating conjunctions, coordinating conjunctions, and adverbials. In Hindi language, it was observed that in addition to the above three major classes, three more classes could be recognized to function as discourse connectives, namely sentential relatives, example, jisse, jiske karan, subordinators, dekhkar, sunkar, the kar part of these words, and particles, bhi, na. How do these kind of discourse relations manifest themselves in other languages? Researchers of Turkish tree bank annotation have looked at the connection that the tokens represent close to each other and made an initial investigation to reveal how these predicates and the arguments are located in the text. Preliminary analysis of the data indicates that the components of two relations are placed in 7 different ways, 2 of which are special to Turkish. In addition to the regular patterns of predicate argument structure observed in English, Turkish reveals 2 interesting patterns in discourse connectives. Argument structure of one connective covers the predicate argument structure of another connective and more text. A relation is nested inside the span of another relation. So basically, an exploration of Turkish discourse structures reveals something that was not present in English. There is argument sharing of various sorts and nesting and crossing relations in Turkish discourse. Further, because of the morphological and phonological properties of Turkish, a single discourse connective can take different forms based on the morphosyntactic environment in which the connective occurs. Similar observations have been made for discourse analysis of other Indian languages as well. For example, in Malayalam and Tamil, it has been reported that a case marker morpheme such as al can be a discourse connective, and it has different interpretations based on the inflectional category of the word to which it attaches. As a discourse connective added to a relative clause pronominals, al expresses a discourse relation of cause or reason, but while added to a conjunctive participial inflection, the same al functions as a conditional marker. Because most relevant information of syntax comes from the morphological inflections in Dravidian languages, It is observed that case markers, non-finite participle inflections of verbs can all function as discourse connectives. Example, Sudhidu దగ్గరికి వెళ్తే కాలిపోతావు. So here వెళ్తే shows the if clause of English. Now, to understand the major issues in identifying discourse connectives, we'll look at the argument structure first. So the major issues are the arguments to discourse connectives are not always adjacent. The arguments to discourse connectives seem to establish non-standard relations within a text. Example, between a relative clause and the main clause. Discourse connectives with different senses can have essentially the same arguments, thereby establishing extra relations between those arguments. Multiple discourse connectives can occur in a single clause that establish distinct relations with different parts of the discourse. Let us look at some examples. फिल्मों के निर्माता समझते हैं कि मशहूर हीरोज़ को अपनी फिल्मों में डालने से फिल्म हिट हो जाएगी, लेकिन कई बार हमने देखा है कि बड़े सितारों के होने के बावजूद फिल्म चलती नहीं है. उसके बजाय निर्देशकों को अपनी स्क्रिप्ट पर भरोसा रखनी चाहिए. The above example illustrates that the connective उसके बजाय connects not the adjacent discourse units but separated syntactically by many clauses. Similarly, discourse connectives seem to establish non-standard relations within a sentence. So, for example, this new movie, which made a record collection of 60 crore rupees within first 3 days of its release, captivated the moviegoers' heart further to collect another 30 crore rupees during weekdays. In this example, the discourse connective further relates to the relative clause, modifying the first noun phrase. We can say that usually it is assumed that discourse connectives are of different types, say structural or anaphoric, and a particular connective will belong to only one single type, although it may have non-connective usages as well. Evidence provided for this categorical distinctions are that for connections to be structural, their arguments could not cross without hanging the interpretation. Example, Fred pushed Bill, Bill fell. Now, if we interchange the argument structure sequence of arguments, Bill fell, Fred pushed him. Both of these will have different meaning. So you can see that by crossing the argument structures, the discourse interpretation itself becomes different in the example. The constraint applies only to those discourse markers which do not have an anaphoric component inside them. These connectives are classified as structural discourse connectives. Arguments to connectives, such as instead, there is no such constraint observed. Thus, they are classified as anaphoric connectives. This is one empirical evidence for this kind of classification. In conclusion, we can say that discourse connectives plays a very important role in understanding discourse. So, when we are going beyond the sentence level, we see that there are different relations that exist between sentences. For identifying these relationships, discourse connectives play a very important role, though we can see that there is confusion when it comes in identifying discourse connectives themselves. So some of the discourse connectives may not be discourse connective actually, only their form may look like discourse connectives. So for example, not all conjunctions can be discourse connective. Similarly, the span of the argument structure, identifying that also becomes very important. Not only that, we see that different languages manifest these discourse relations in different ways. For example, in South Indian languages, morphology plays a very important role. So they are not lexicalized. So there are morphological suffixes or morphemes that play a very important role. So they convey certain information and they can be identified as discourse connective. Not only that, if we look at the University of Pennsylvania's tree bank structure for discourse, PDTB, those can be applied to only some languages. To apply those schema to Indian languages, we have to have a thorough study of discourse connectives with respect to the discourse relations and also develop a new schema based on that. The information in the sentences may be similar, but how they have been manifested, that has to be studied cross-lingually. With that, we conclude this lecture on discourse connectives. Thank you.